Greetings, I am Toglin, Hell's Harlequin, but you may call me Tog. This is completely off the cuff, so there might be some ohs, me being a little derailed, looking off. It's just natural when you haven't scripted. Anyways, something bad is happening in this country. And if you're not terrified, then my loves, you have not been completely paying attention. Let's talk about the current president, the current administration. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of my viewers are Trump supporters, because I know for whatever reason I attract the right wing. It's probably because I'm critical of the left. But darlings, I am not right wing. I am rather anti-right wing. I created my channel as a challenge to the left wingers because I am on the left and I have seen the failures of the left and how the left has died. Well, not died, but has been dying. Because I feel like language and such is important. That's one of the reasons why when I think something is sexist, I tone it back to being traditionalist. Because that is where a lot of sexism comes from, is traditions. And I agree that classism has always been a bigger issue. Well, it hasn't been a bigger issue because racism ties in with classism. But classism in the modern day is a bigger issue than most other issues. And I can see how elitists and stuff have turned the working class against the Democrats. Because Democrats have always been the party for the working class. But the problem is we've been more focused on identity politics rather than the real issues that matter. The real issues that matter is the crippling poverty that many people face. And when we only focus on the poverty of blacks and minorities, a lot of whites feel disenfranchised. And they are going to the party that actively destroys their own self-interests because the left has abandoned them. So I don't blame them. They're not really being helped by the left, but they're not being helped by the right at all. No, honey pie, they are absolutely not. People who want to start small businesses, guess who gives you the grant? That would be the left. Guess who helps subsidize farmers? That would be the left. Now, when we're talking about farming subsidies, there's the whole breakdown of USAID, which a lot of people say, why should we help those from other countries? Well, now that is a very good question, darling. Do I really care that much about USAID? It's not an issue I've really too much thought about. It really does not take too much of our spending allowance. It's a program, but I decided to look into it, and it's ironic that a lot of people who are now more recently Republicans say that they used to be JFK Democrats. Now, interesting enough, JFK is the one who started USAID, and USAID was originally created to be a way to spread American democracy to other countries, as well as an issue of national security. Because the whole idea is you can bribe countries to be your friends rather than scare them. So it was a means to try and start cutting government spending on military defense, because these are, if you are friendly to people, they're less likely to attack you, as well as they're more likely to back you up in case of an attack. But then again, decreasing military spending for any reason or sort of having alternate military ideas is not something that is in the right wing's vocabulary. And I will always be more critical of the right than the left. And I'm sorry, darlings, it's just kind of where I stand. And if you've been paying attention, that is my viewpoints. Now, why am I left wing? Now, there's an interesting question. The question is, what type of country do you want to live in? I want to live in a country that cares about the future, that cares about the environment, that cares about the homeless. So you might call me an idealist. That's why I'm on the left, is because I stick to the ideals. And I'm of the opinion that there's no real point in working a job if it doesn't pay your bills. So, that's where we stand, and we can agree to disagree. It's also interesting that when it comes to social programs, I've heard people say that they're illegal social programs. There is no such thing in our Constitution as an illegal social program. We are a democratic republic. And this is something I've argued with a friend in person over, is I told him that one of the big failures I have seen of the system is there is this old homeless man who has a little sign up saying anything for a vet could help. And being homeless in Alaska is hard as it is. Now, the reason I point out this man is I've chatted with him. He served our country, and he's an amputee. Like, I don't know how he lost his legs. I don't know if it was in, because I'm pretty sure that if it was in war, maybe the VA would be more willing to help him and stuff. But I don't know if that's the case because of the massive cuts to the VA. Because, oh sure, even if we're not cutting the funding that goes directly to the VA, if we're slicing up the staff, how are we supposed to process people who want to access the benefits? But I digress. Like I said, I get derailed very easily. This man is one of the indications that there's something completely broken with our country. Because he has both of his legs amputated. He's in a wheelchair. And he's homeless in Alaska. I think that is completely shows where our system has failed. No old amputee should be homeless in America. That is my belief, and that is the type of America I personally want to live in, is a place where we take care of people who are in need. And there's nothing anti-constitutional about that. And like I said, the argument I had with a friend is, what is the purpose of the government? He doesn't believe that helping those should be the purpose of the government, that should be more of the government should make a safe place so people can be charitable if they want to. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, we live in a democratic republic. The purpose of the government is what we choose it to be. And I personally would choose it to be to help the citizens of this country. So there is absolutely nothing unconstitutional about wanting a government that has social programs for all. We started in a country that had social programs for all. The whole idea of public libraries and such for education, because we have even started our country out with things such as public library. I believe public schools came later on. But as it is, we are very reliant on social programs. If we had it where it was nothing but privatized schools and privatized educations, do you realize that would make it so those on the lower class would only get poorer and the richer would become more and more elite? And as someone who's trying to fight classism, that just seems absolutely horrible and not the type of country I personally want to live in. And let's talk about the First Amendment, free speech. As it is right now, Trump is majorly attacking free speech in multiple areas. One is we have illegal speech on college campuses. Now, here's the thing. Illegal speech is in broad brushes, and we have no idea what that even means. I mean, look at Muhammad Khalil. He had a green card, was in this country legally, was protesting the treatment of the Palestinians, which is his right under free speech, and he gets deported, and he has a pregnant American wife. Like, just let that sink in. J.D. Vance answered the question that said that even if you commit no crimes, you can still be deported with a green card, because if we determine that we don't want you in our country, we can just simply ask you to leave. Which I don't think those who wanted the anti-illegal immigrations, I don't think that's what we necessarily agreed on. Now, here's the thing. You could say he's an immigrant. He doesn't have a right to speak free speech. The Constitution wasn't necessarily completely made for citizens. It was made for anyone in its country. Now, let me explain some of the reasons for that. In the past, there wasn't that many citizens. Most people in this country were just simply living here. Like, because you had to be a landowner to be a citizen. Like, a lot of the stuff that's geared towards citizens, they're talking about those who have the vote. So a lot of our Constitution is still written with the idea that many of us are not citizens. And because of that, if you step foot on American soil, You have your own constitutional rights. And when speaking about constitutional rights, let's talk about the right to a fair trial, the right to due process. Well, because of the Alien Enemies Act, or we are denying people the right to due process, which this is the biggest reason why I say we should be terrified. Everyone should be terrified, because we are sending people to a concentration camp in El Salvador without due process. We are just simply taking people and whisking them away. You could be like, oh, I've had people say, it's not a concentration camp, it's a prison. No, honey pie, it is a concentration camp. It is a for-profit work prison. They shave your head. They treat you inhumanely. This particular prison has been investigated many times before for human rights violations, and our current administration thinks it's all right to send Venezuelans there. And how do we even know all of these people are Venezuelan? Like, we don't know who they are. They're not giving out the names. We don't know what they've done. ICE has even confirmed that many of them have no criminal records. And the amount of doublespeak is mind-blowing. Do you realize that I have heard Fox News, which we should just call that government propaganda station, say that, oh, well, they haven't been in this country long. The fact they have no criminal record just further proves the idea that they are terrorists. It's insane to me. Like, we are shipping off people who are asylum seekers, who had court dates to seek asylum. They were in this country legally, and we are shipping them off while they are still in the process of getting citizenship. We are shipping off hairdressers and soccer players due to tattoos that aren't even gang tattoos. I believe the hairdresser got his tattoo in a tattoo parlor in Texas because he thought it looked cool. And we think this is fine because we want mass deportation. Oh, why? What is going on? Seriously, what is going on? If you're not angry, what is wrong with you? Because this means that they can whisk anyone away for any reason and just disappear you. There is no due process. This is one of the reasons why before I have argued about, I have always stuck to my guns and I have not changed any of my positions on things. I have said in the past that the reason why I'm against jailing people because of rape accusations is that takes away their due process, and everyone has the right to a fair trial. Even if you are an illegal immigrant, you have the right to a fair trial. It is promised under our Constitution. What is going on is anti-American, and it spits in the face of those veterans who have died defending democracy. This is just something I am very passionate about. My grandfather fought in World War II. He told me many war stories and many horrors none of you could even imagine. He has told me about, he was in the Navy. He was in the submarines. He's told me about small cuts and bruises turning into rotting, pusturing wounds. Seeing friends die. Like bombing submarines, having that type of blood on your hands. We do these things. We send these people out to defend our democracy. Are we defending democracy by denying people their constitutional rights? And as I said before, the Constitution applies to everyone who sets foot in this country. I mean, we barely even had immigration laws when our country first started. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Look at the American dream. The American dream is to come here and make a better life. And instead of coming here and making a better life, instead of hiding from an oppressive regime, being here as an asylum seeker, we send these people to concentration camps in El Salvador. Who knows if any of them are U.S. citizens? Who knows? And you and I, everyone, should be terrified. As well as we have cases of Canadian tourists who have like, what was it? She had a typo on her passport and was shipped off to a holding facility for weeks, wasn't allowed to talk to her lawyer because her lawyer could have cleared all of this up. She is lucky her family is rich and she managed to get out of that horrible situation. Canada, Germany, the UK, other people are warning people about visiting America right now because anyone who visits this country is at risk of being put into a holding facility by ICE. ICE has gone power hungry and mad. This is maddening. I don't know how people can look at what's going on and not see it. It's there. It's in front of us. ICE has become the new Gestapo. They can just take you whenever they want for whatever reason. You can be, I mean, when we're looking at even the attacks on free speech and university campuses as well, who knows what restricted speech is? Is it going against the Trump administration? Arguing about... Sorry, my dog is... She barks at like maybe sticks in the wind. She is just very bark happy. But anyways, is it a protesting climate? Because here's another thing with this administration. We have pulled out of our obligations to global, I think, what was it called? Like I said, this is off the cuff, but basically the global climate agreement for helping combat climate change. And if you don't believe in climate change, I'm sorry, you're just anti-science. I don't know what to tell you. You could argue, well, other countries don't really practice it. Sure, but how it's like saying, well, I can rob your house because my neighbor robs people's houses. That's not a good argument. I'm sorry, darling. It just isn't. But yes, there's the whole idea of we want to fight back out of it because we want to be able to create more industry and factories and such. But let's also talk about, like I said, I'm to get derailed and there's a lot of things I want to talk about, and I will talk about it in my roundabout way that I talk about things if you're actually talking to me in person, because darlings, I'm imagining you're right in front of me, and let me tell you, you'll look great. You look fabulous. You don't look like disappointed penguins. Anyways, my head. Let's talk about the tariffs. Now, if we want to create more infrastructure, the idea is the tariffs are supposed to help us buy American. But is American still affordable even with the tariffs? Or is this just simply going to further drive up costs for the average person? Well, maybe if the tariffs were better implemented, because as it is, the extra money that's going to the government right now can just be used in whatever government slush fund they want. If we were to implement them better, because for one thing, the main one who is taking a lot of our jobs and infrastructure would be China, which we have minimal tariffs on them in comparison to Mexico and Canada. And what the hell did Canada do? I mean, they've always been great neighbors to us. Yet we're look at how we're treating them. They have allowed passage through their waterways and their highways for they haven't really been charging us fees. They've just been letting us go back and forth through their country to help supply Alaska with the goods and services they need. And as an Alaskan, I really appreciate it. Like, Canada is our friend. They help supply us with cheap electricity. They have always been our allies. They have, when it comes to wildfires up in the northern areas, they have helped us contain our wildfires. When I went to school, I actually went to school with people. This was during the war in Iraq. I actually went to school with Canadians who were stationed in Alaska as part of a global initiative to fight terror. So Canada has always backed us in everything we've asked them to do. There is an argument saying, hey, Canada, darlings, buy more American goods. We are very unhappy about this arrangement. And we asked them that, but then we have like overarching tariffs. And we have decided to go into a trade war with them instead of negotiating more of a reasonable agreement. And right now, we are handing Canada to China. We are making China more powerful because part of the ways that Canada is going to be more independent from the USA is to strike more deals with China. What are we doing? And back on the subject of tariffs, if we wanted things to be cheaper for the consumer, but still more provide goods and services from the US to help boost our economy, we could always use the money from the tariffs to fund American industry. But we don't. Who knows where that money goes? Who knows? They say it's to pay off the national debt, but I am very skeptical. I really am. I don't think, because the extra money has not been directly allocated to any specific purpose. We just have to trust them. And honey, I don't trust the government as far as I can throw them. And if you've seen Trump, he's really tall and very pudgy. So I can't throw him. Can't throw him very far. So back on topic. The other thing is, right now we are in a labor shortage, and we are conducting mass deportations. Sure, I believe that the surrounding borders should be tightened. In fact, everyone likes to criticize Biden. Oh, Biden, he was so terrible because we had like bad things happen under Biden. Oh, darling, that was the big reason why our economy suffered under Biden was because we were in the middle of a pandemic. Does anyone look at the external factors? But I think Biden was doing a great job with tightening the borders, as well as making it so that we have more of a fast track for citizenship for people who are already here. Because, like, here's the thing. A lot of illegal immigrants even pay their taxes. Right now, the government is leaning on the IRS to try and give the information of illegal immigrants are people who are suspected to be illegal, so ICE can just sort of beat down their door, but they're paying taxes. And our argument against illegals is they don't pay taxes. But either way, we are trying to give a fast track to those who have already been here for a very long time in order to not worry about them. ICE should have other priorities. In fact, ICE used to be part of the Department of Labor, not behind Homeland Security. Illegal immigration is more of a labor issue than it is an issue of national security. When it comes to crime, legal and illegal immigrants statistically commit less crime than the natural-born citizens. And sure, should we combat people from Venezuelan gangs? Yes, but I would like them to have fair trials to make sure they're actually part of the Venezuelan gang, because they need to actually be held accountable for what they've done, and they should be sent to the proper facilities. If they have committed crimes in America, they should be sent to an American facility. If they are captured and we find out they have committed crimes in Venezuela, they should be sent to Venezuela. Have I gone like crazy? Anyways, I am very passionate about certain subjects, and right now I have been arguing with a lot of people that all of this is very fresh and in my head. And like I said, I have always been very empathetic. That's why I created this channel. But as I said before about we're going to go back to where we stand with this, and why a lot of these steps have been very bad for the consumer and such. Because do you realize how much percentage of farmers use illegal immigration as part of their hiring process? If we were to just mass deport these illegal immigrants, who's going to pick our strawberries? who's going to pick our oranges? We do not have the immediate abilities to fill those positions, especially since we are currently in a labor shortage. As it is, we should probably be trying to fill these positions by allowing those who are already here a fast track to citizenship if they haven't committed any crimes other than being in this country illegally. By the way, that's even a misdemeanor. That is not like a felony. That is not something to just overly hate people on. As it is, the way to unite the country under a dictator is to create a common enemy. Right now, we are listening to the propaganda about these foreign terrorists, which sure, there is some. There totally is. But this is a very nice excuse to start sending people off to the gulags. You know? That, although instead of having it domestically, we're outsourcing it. And speaking of farmers and who's going to pick our strawberries and such, say goodbye to the small farms, darlings, because a lot of the grants that were promised under Biden as part of his counter-inflation acts, which I actually support the counter-inflation initiatives. We should have had Kamala Harris in office because I really liked her idea of banning price gouging, as well as trying to renegotiate prices from drug companies. Because as it is, we pay more for medication than Canada does. One of the reasons why other countries pay a lot less for their health care is they're able to negotiate with prescription drug companies in order to get cheaper prices on these things. And I think America's spending at least 4 times more than Canada is on the same drugs. And when Bernie Sanders confronted these drug companies and asked if they still make a profit by selling their drugs at the rate they sell to Canada, they said yes. And they're still not willing to sell to Americans at these same prices. So I think we should totally pressure drug companies to give us the same rates they do to our neighbors. But Trump, in his infinite wisdom, decided to make it so that Medicaid can no longer negotiate with drug companies to bring the price of medicine down. Oh, well, that's lovely. I mean, make Medicaid more expensive. Oh, and then gut Medicaid while we're at it. The current administration's new budget is planning to completely gut Medicaid. And you're like, well, you know, Trump promised not to cut Medicare, so I don't really care because I'm caring more about that because that's what we're paying into when we're paying our Social Security. But, darlings, do you realize that, sure, he's not cutting to Medicaid directly, well, Medicare directly, but Medicaid, a lot of our senior facilities rely on Medicaid to function. Medicaid doesn't just pay for medications. It also subsidizes senior housing. Are you willing to let all these seniors be homeless? If you are, what is wrong with you? Anyways, gotta calm down. Happy thoughts, right? Anyways, another thing that's happening under this administration is that we are gutting those in charge of giving out Medicaid. We are planning to cut the staff in half. Many, or Medicare, when it comes to our Social Security, even if that itself isn't touched, what about the Social Security offices? Some states are no longer having Social Security offices. And to counter fraud, which less than 1% of Social Security goes to fraud. Sure, fraud isn't everything. And sometimes it's more expensive to counter fraud than it is to deal with fraud, because when they counter fraud, what they do for the most part is make it harder for people who actually deserve such things to get it. So when we're looking at Social Security benefits, they've been slicing the amount of employees to help you out. There's people who have been waiting on the phone for 4 to 5 hours because their Social Security checks didn't come in. And then they are told to go into the offices, but the offices are full and they wait in line and get no help and have to keep going there. Well, they're going to make a new law that says that you have to come to Social Security in person to file yearly or to renew your Social Security. Like, we're talking about old people and disabled people, and we're slashing the amount of offices they have to go with. You know what that means? That means that a lot of vulnerable people are not getting their Social Security. And a lot of people live off of Social Security when they're older. And these people somehow are living off $1,500 to $1,800 a month, or $15,000 to $18,000 a year. That is insane. I don't know how you can live off that. I could just be because I'm from Alaska and we have a higher standard of living. Everything's freaking expensive up here, darling. It's just, we're going to be hurting so many people for trying to combat the insignificant amount of fraud that there is in the system. This is just an excuse to be relentless and heartless. And we're okay with this. We let this go. This is money that people have paid into. You deserve your Social Security. They deserve their Social Security. And one thing that's messed up is, did you know that if you make, I think, over $100,000, the percentage-wise you pay into Social Security flatlines? That means that we allow, percentage-wise, the poor to pay more into the system than the wealthy. Now, I believe, and people say, well, they don't need it. They don't need it. Well, the rest of us need it. And if the rest of us have to pay a certain percentage, so do you. If they were to raise the cap and make everyone's pay the same percentage on Social Security, that would majorly expand the program, allow our seniors to actually have the amount to live off of, be able to subsidize senior housing with Social Security alone and not have to rely on Medicaid. As well as we could give them complete coverage. But we don't, because this administration and our country has designed to help the rich. We are a country of by billionaires for billionaires. This is the first time we have had so many billionaires in charge of our government. And if you believe billionaires are going to be there to help the common person, you are beyond levels of deluded. It's just, insanity doesn't even cover it. There's just so much going on that is very wrong with our country. Our environment is in risk. Our free speech is at risk. Oh, and let's talk about how Trump is trying to get unlimited power. People say, oh, no, he doesn't. But here's the thing. He is letting go of 4-star generals around him in an unprecedented rate. He is threatening judges who hold him in checks and balances of he's threatening judges who are supposed to be holding the president accountable. He's threatening them with saying that they need to be impeached. And he can do whatever he wants. We emboldened him by letting a criminal be president. One of the things, I was more indifferent to Trump his first term. There was a lot of things he did that bothered me, but he was a Republican. So there's a lot of things that every Republican does that bothers me, especially when it comes to helping the homeless and the environment and actually doing what's good for the common person. Republicans really just don't care. They are by the billionaire class for the billionaire class. At least the latest administration is. And you might be saying, Lady Tog, of course the Republicans care. Okay, let's look at All Lives Matter. Let's look at All Lives Matter. I used to support the whole idea. I'm like, yeah, All Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter. I don't like the racial divides. It promotes, and you think that, okay, the All Lives Matter guys are going to be helping the Black Lives Matter because they're like, oh no, white people suffer from this too. And do they say, white people suffer from this too, so let's just get, this is a blanket thing to help police brutality? No, they're just like, white people suffer from this too, so shut the F up. That's what it is. They were a force to maintain the status quo. That is what they're more of a right-wing ideology. Sure, the left has gone racist as hell. If you're a poor white person, they don't care about you. For the most part, they don't care about you. They only care if you're a poor minority to get the special victims point. But you know what? The right doesn't care about you either. And at least on the left, you're more likely to benefit from the programs that they're trying to help minorities with. Do I believe that everyone should be included? Of course I do. Of course I believe that there's a lot of racism in the system from both sides. And that's the thing. Like I said, that's another reason why I'm afraid of this attack on DEI, is that this emboldens the right, this emboldens the white supremacists and such to get rid of anyone they want to as long as they're not white. That is the reality we are facing, ladies and gentlemen. We are giving them power and we are endorsing them. We are endorsing a criminal who supported an insurrection of the government, who threw a giant tantrum because he didn't get his way, and we let him back into the White House. After January 6th completely changed my mind about Trump, I realized then that if he got back in office, he would look for retribution. Look at how he talks about Biden, saying he's the worst president in history. You know, we've had white supremacists as presidents. I don't think he's anywhere near the worst president in history. There's some things I disagreed with Biden for, but for the most part, I was satisfied with Biden as the president. You can hate me for that if you want. That is my personal opinion. But here we have a president that does nothing but attack his opponents, has no interest in trying to bring both sides of the aisle together. And as it is, the more extreme forces of the left are gaining power. AOC is gaining popularity at a just, I would say, alarming rate, but at this point, I would much rather AOC as a president than Trump, because, you know, at least she has a heart. And you can hate me for that if you want to. I'm fairly certain that a lot of that my video is probably going to lose me a lot of subscribers, but I made my channel to speak my mind, not to gain a following. And this is what's on my mind. So, do I believe that we should have more of a moderate in the White House? Yes, I believe that probably change should go with baby steps. But baby steps don't work. Even when you have more of a moderate in office, the right-wing propaganda has been bad enough that you might as well have just said that this guy was a commie. And another thing is, how is foreign aid and helping people part of communism? Communism is a system of economics. And it's a way to get dictators into power. You can have a capitalist dictator, and having social programs does not make you a communist. How many times do I have to say that? Like, this video is, like I said, this is a big rant, and I'm sure there's points I have missed, but I think I am thoroughly done ranting now. At least for this point. Any questions, let me know in the comments, and I hope you'll have a pleasant rest of your day.